I'm not sure how many of you have been keeping up. Socialism is coming to the United States. I was joking about this on, I did Fox News Saturday night. On Saturday night. We actually recorded it on Thursday night. It's not actually live, although we make it seem like it's live. The deception of television. We're doing it on Thursday night, and if any of you caught it, me and Jimmy were talking about how I literally left Canada, socialist hellhole, to move to New York City, which is now turning into a literal socialist hellhole. Just my luck. I also, this is unrelated to anything, met two of Donald Trump's grandkids in the green room, which was odd. Not going to lie. Lara Trump, Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, married to Eric Trump, and she has a show on Fox News. She was on the show with me. So she was in the green room with two of her kids who are literally, I didn't even piece it together until maybe 45 minutes in. I was kind of like talking to them. I was talking to these kids a little bit. And then I was like, oh shit, these are Donald Trump's grandchildren. That's pretty weird. There's also literally 10 to 12 Secret Service in there. So it wasn't a normal show by any stretch of the imagination. Crazy life where you literally cannot go out in public with 12 people. But, I did think about it. I'm like, it is, like these kids, the kids are probably like 6 and 4 maybe. Like there's a bunch of unhinged psychos in this country who would gleefully kill these children. Gleefully. So I guess you need all the security, but it was wild. Someone says, what was she doing in the green room? She was on the show. So she was on the show with me, and everyone was just saying the green room. She was there with her kids, who are Donald Trump's grandchildren. Bizarre. But they must have they probably don't really get the gravity of being Donald Trump's grandchildren quite yet. They're probably a little too young for it, but they will, and it's going to be a weird fucking life. Anyhow, to the show. So socialism is returning last week to the United States. Last week, 3 not even regular socialists. I don't even know quite the difference. 3 Democratic socialists won their primaries in New York State. 2 of them were for Congress. 1 was for the state Senate. The state Senate we care about less. I don't expect any of you non-New Yorkers to give a shit about that, nor should you. But 2 of them were congressional districts, and they won their primaries. Barring anything crazy, they will all be members. These 2 people will be members of Congress come November. Now, I will say, pretty smart move on their part, because basically if you're a Democratic candidate in New York State, it's a guaranteed victory, essentially. I don't know if there's any Republican Congress members from New York State. I don't know. Maybe there's one. I don't know. But for the most part, it's just a lock that once it comes time for the actual voting in November, if you are a Democrat, if you got a D in front of your name, you're a big winner, right? So smart move on their part. They go, you know what? We just need to win the primaries, which only registered Democrats are even allowed to vote in. If we just win the primaries, then we're guaranteed to win and go to Congress, right? So smart that they just were like, we don't even need to focus on winning the election. We need to focus on winning the primary, which they did. The 2 congressional candidates, Claire Valdez and Daria Liza Avila Chevalier, received only 37,000 and 33,000 votes respectively. So, that's how many votes you need to get into fucking Congress if you're smart about it. Now, there are a number of other Democratic socialists who could find themselves in Congress come November in other places across the country. And you know what? Some of this does make sense. The rise of socialism, to be honest. Like when you have the left framing Trump as a fascist, when you're like, he's a fascist, right? Then it kind of makes sense that there'll be some, pendulum swing, and you're essentially Like, if people are thinking that the president is far right, then it makes sense that people on the super far left will start getting elected, and they are. Now, again, it's 2 members of Congress. AOC makes it 3. I think Rashida Tlaib is 1, so that's 4. So we're not talking. Bernie Sanders is kind of on the fence. So we're not talking like a Democratic socialist wave. It's certainly the beginning of a trend potentially. Chavez and Avila Chevalier literally make AOC seem reasonable in comparison. If you're wondering, I don't know how much you know about these 2 people. Sorry, I gotta adjust my thing here. But they literally make AOC seem pretty fucking reasonable. Both are basically communists, like actual communists, not like, oh, I read Marx when I was in college. Like, no, these are real communists. Avila Chevalier is a full communist, as indicated by her now deleted Twitter account. She complained that libraries didn't carry enough literature by Lenin, not John, and she wishes the complete work of Stalin would be more readily available at bookstores. Just if you're wondering what a few of what her platform looks like, she wants to abolish prison, police, and borders. Not defund. She wants to completely abolish. This is going to be someone who is sitting in Congress. Again, we were like, man, AOC and the squad, they're a bunch of nuts. This chick is putting them to fucking shame. She is literally quoted as saying she wants to end policing. Full stop, period. No more police at all, ever. She had some interview with someone, and they were asking about this murderer, and they're like, well, surely you think this murderer should go to jail. They murdered somebody. And she literally wouldn't say yes. She just a lot of commie gobbledygook, as Norm Macdonald said. No police ever. It is interesting because there's this new wave of the Democratic Party, these Democratic socialists, who literally hate America. And they're not pulling any punches here. They hate America. Avila Chevalier called America a fucking disgrace. Those are her words, not mine. Which is, again, pretty common. It just is crazy. You would think, at minimum, you have to like be ambivalent about America. You go, you know what? It could be great. There's some things that need changing, but I don't hate the place. She hates the place. Also, she's recently Muslim. Take with that way you will. Wasn't born Muslim, just at some point was like a Muslim now. She wants to seize the means of production, calling for nationalizing utilities, pharmaceutical companies, seizing all properties from landlords. My people, the landlords. Now, again, anybody with any common sense knows that the government nationalizing all utilities makes things worse, not better. Nationalizing pharmaceutical companies makes everything worse, not better. And nationalizing all properties. What other countries have nationalized all of their properties? Can you show me one where you go, that is a place that I would like to live? A lot of those places I go, I don't even know if I want a vacation in these fucking places. She called Joe Biden a rapist and war criminal, and then criticized Bernie Sanders and AOC for being too pro-Israel. AOC, too pro-Israel. AOC, too pro-Israel. She also said black and Arab men fetishize ugly colonizer women, and she is against interracial marriage. So, not all of her ideas are bad. She has some good ideas. Interracial marriage, that's a big no-no. We don't want to muddy the gene pool. This is what she says, right? She basically hates white women who mostly voted for her. Funny how that works. Now, I said when Mondami was elected, when he was kind of going through his thing. This is probably about this time last year, where he won the Democratic primary. But it wasn't a lock at that point. But definitely once he was elected, that, in my opinion, the greatest risk to this country would be that he actually does a good job. That's the thing that is most concerning to me about Mamdani. is that he does a good job, right? And then people will be like, what's the big deal with why is everybody telling us that if we have socialism, it's going to be the end of everything? Seems like it's going okay. And look, as much as people want to hate on him, he's actually doing fine, okay? The Knicks are NBA champions. I don't think that has anything to do with him. Certainly he's going to take the credit for it somehow. He just got a rent freeze passed on 1 million rent-stabilized apartments. 40% of all, I don't know if they're 40% of all rent-stabilized apartments in New York City, meaning essentially that landlords can't increase rents on 1 and 2 year leases. Look, you just have to think of this logically, and I know that they don't come at this from a logical perspective, but property taxes increase, inflation exists, it's increasing, maintenance, whatever, like insurance, like if an elevator breaks, you have to fix it. All this stuff, landlords cannot increase the rent. At least like in my former home in Ontario, in Canada, which is super restrictive, at least landlords can increase the rents by whatever inflation is. Like the government of Ontario says, here's what inflation is for this year. You can increase your rents this much, which seems, it's very much in the benefit of tenants, but you're like, at least that's reasonable, right? At least it factors in that, cost of everything increases all the time. It's literally how the system is built. So you're like, at least there's 2%, whatever, 3%, but it's something. Here it's 0. And look, let me be clear. I'm not the only person who says this. This is not going to work out. It may appear that it will work out, but it won't work out. It won't. It can't. It won't work out. Now, the thing is, it won't be clear that the damage this will cause. And it won't be super clear until the end of Mamdani's first term, maybe even later than that, right? Like this stuff takes a while. You don't flip a switch and you go, hey, no rent increases. And the next day, every landlord's like, I'm fucked. It's not how it works, right? It'll take some time. Like I was just reading actually before this that Sergey Brin, who is one of the founders of Google, who owned I don't know if he owned, but he was an investor in Manhattan real estate. He just exited his investment at 6 cents on the dollar, a 94% haircut. Because he, if you assume that this guy is pretty smart, has pretty good advisors, they were just like, this is not worth it. Just literally, this isn't even worth the hassle to be involved with. Just take whatever money you can get out of here. Just move on. Rent freezes do not work. The only thing that really ever works for bringing down real estate costs, rents, the price to own a home, which again is a big part of why these socialists are gaining ground here, is because obviously it is becoming very unaffordable to own property in this country. But the only thing that brings down real estate costs is increasing the supply. That's really it. And it works quite well. You just cut the red tape, you let people build, you bring supply, and that usually is a pretty effective mechanism to reduce costs, right? Rent freezes don't do that in the long run. But in the short run, I'm sure it will appear that they are working. I'm sure a lot of people who live in these rent-controlled apartments in New York City, who oftentimes are rich. That's the crazy thing with New York City, is there'll be people who live in these places that should be $4,000 a month and they pay $1,500 a month and they make $300,000 a year because it's not income based. It's just like, if you get it, you get it. So it will appear a lot of these people, and probably a lot of these people will be like, yeah, socialism is sick. My rent has not gone up in 2 years. This is fantastic. But a lot of times what happens is these landlords, my people, they don't maintain the properties because they're like, look, I'm not renovating this place if I can't increase the rents. Why would I do that? It's just common sense. Now the city's threatening where they go, okay, well then we're just going to take your place from you if you don't do that. So, the assumption, and look, don't get me wrong, some real estate people in New York City are filthy rich, right? They have so much fucking money. They are so rich. These, as much as there's these mom and pops, which there are a lot of them who just own like an apartment or they own a building with 2 or 3 apartments in them. And these are truly mom and pops. There are a lot of corporations who own, 100 units. Like the last time I lived on my own, before I moved in with the old ball and chain, I lived in a place like this. It was a walk-up building. It was on 14th Street in the East Village, and it was probably 18. I think it was like 18 units, and it was owned by like some giant company or whatever. Like they probably owned 20 of these buildings. But again, common sense. At some point, they go, "Hey, we can just make more money if we just sell this place, this whole building, and just put that money in the stock market, and we don't have to deal with any fucking hassles. We don't have to deal with late payments. The boiler explodes. We got to put a new roof on it." The building, my neighbor, not my neighbor in my building, but next door to me, they had an air conditioning unit fall out of their window because they didn't affix it properly. And I think it hit somebody. I don't think it killed them, but it's a nightmare to deal with. So